Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. This is a shore excursion in the British Virgin Islands to the Baths. The Baths are located at the southwestern tip of Virgin Gorda. After a short ride on the tender, we arrived just outside the roped-off swimming area. From here, it was just a quick swim ashore to the beach. Then there was a walk down this lovely butterfly-filled path, which led directly to the baths. This is all part of the Devil's Bay National Park. I didn't really notice this last sign until I watched the video later. It says, "Do not enter caves after 4:30. It was 4:45 when I was filming, and I was alone, but I wasn't concerned. I did get turned around a couple times. I cut out the first section of video because I got turned around at the very beginning, and I left in a later scenario where I got turned around a little bit, just so you could kind of get a feel for what it's like to navigate through the baths. There was only one couple that went in before me, a nice couple I'd met from Austria. I'd been on another liveaboard with them previously. I thought I would catch up to them at some point, but I didn't see them until I was all the way through. The rest of our group decided to lounge on the beach and have cocktails instead of exploring the baths. I had considered joining them, but I was really glad I made the trek and hiked through the baths. It was an incredible experience, extremely beautiful. I was unfamiliar with the baths before this trip to the British Virgin Islands, had never even heard of them, and the pictures I saw and little research I did beforehand really didn't do it justice. It was nothing like I had anticipated. I had anticipated giant open spaces inside, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if I saw a picture or something that led me to believe that would be the case, but it wasn't. There were lots of these steps and wooden structures and ropes to help you climb through. The way was not always clear, at least not to me, and you'd be going through these rocks and caves and things, and then you'd come across another structure, and then you'd know that you were headed in the right direction. There were a couple instances where I needed both hands, and I had to turn the camera off for a few seconds while I was climbing, but I tried to always turn it back on and then show where I'd come from. Didn't always do a good job, but this is a video of almost the complete navigation through the baths. I don't think I missed any large portion of it. There's a section of video at the very end, and that was when I was on my way back through, and I climbed into this little chamber, which I knew didn't go anywhere, but it was really interesting. The tide was rising and it was filling up with water, and I thought that would make for some interesting video. So I was safe and I did get out, obviously, but that's what you'll see at the very end. Other than that, after you navigate your way through the baths, it opens into a small beach, and there are some bungalows there and a little bar, a little tiki bar. It happened to be closed on this day at this time, but looked like it was a lot of fun there. And you don't have to go through the baths to get there. There's a road and a parking lot with access to that little beach and tiki bar. In my opinion, it'd be a lot more fun to visit the bar after navigating your way through the baths. It's kind of a nice surprise at the end, and If the bar had been open, I would have absolutely stopped for a beverage. This little stairway was extremely steep, so I wanted to show you the view here before I went down the stairs. I couldn't video while I was going down these stairs. These steps you had to turn around and go down backwards. But when I got to the bottom here, you actually have to climb into the water. And some of it you're walking through water as you navigate through the baths. But I climbed down to the bottom and then turned the camera back on. You can see here's the view after I'm at the bottom of the steps, and turn around. And sometimes the water is kind of deep as the tide's coming and going. And so you can see here there are different ways to go. I could have gone to the left, but here I wanted to explore to the right. And some of these you really have to stoop. I'm almost 6 foot tall, so you have to crouch down to get through these openings. And some of them connect and some of them don't. I only really got turned around twice, once at the very beginning and once here. But it was easy to find my way back. I think the reason they have that sign is it probably could be very confusing in the dark, especially if you didn't have a flashlight with you or something like that. So that's probably why they recommend that you don't go into the baths or caves after 4:30 in the afternoon. The sun was setting early, but I still felt that I had plenty of light, because what I'd been told was it would only take about 30 minutes to navigate through the baths. I was really excited to come back and do this video. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed this shore excursion. I thought it was just a really fun place to explore. I'm curious, and I'd love to get your feedback. Do you enjoy the video? Are there certain aspects you like? If you're claustrophobic, does this sort of thing bother you to watch? I really didn't feel claustrophobic as I was exploring, and I don't really typically experience that at all. There were some narrow passages like this where you had to crouch and kind of scoot through, but with all of the large openings, I really never got the feeling that I was completely enclosed, except for a few moments at a time. You saw that arrow there? I believe that's for navigating back through, because I know I'm headed in the right direction, because here's another structure, another set of steps leading me further in or through the baths. All of these structures, the steps and ropes, seemed extremely sturdy. I would assume, guessing, that they're provided by part of the park service. They seemed extremely well maintained. I would imagine the salt water, it would make for an environment where the wood would break down fairly quickly if it wasn't maintained. But you can see here, all of this looks like it's in great condition and fairly new. I highly recommend that if you ever get the opportunity, you do go explore the baths. I'm so glad that I didn't hang out on the beach and have cocktails, although very, very tempting. I'm sincerely thankful that I did not miss out on this experience. We're not too far from the end here, and you can see this last set of steps. These were probably the worst shape of all, and still very, very sturdy, and look like they were in good shape, at least to me. But they're pretty much in the water, and I would imagine at some points may completely be covered in water. So not surprising that they're a little worse for wear than everything else, but everything else looked brand new for the most part. I wish I'd brought my better camera, but given I knew ahead of time there would be a swim, I didn't have a waterproof bag for the Nikon. I guess I could have brought it ashore in the dive housing and then taken it out of the dive housing, but that just seemed like a lot of trouble. So this is all shot through the the GoPro while still in the dive housing. This part you have to navigate hand over hand on the rope, so I had to turn the camera off for just a couple seconds. Here you can see this is where I turned the camera off so that I could climb to the bottom, and then here's the view from the bottom looking back up at the rope I just came down and turning around to look around the room. You can see there are a couple different ways you could choose to go. Here I'm standing in water again. I had worn my dive boots with my fins for the swim ashore, and I was very glad to have the dive boots for this trek through the baths. I can't imagine trying to do this in flip-flops or slides. I think that'd be pretty uncomfortable. Getting closer to the end, just a couple more twists and turns. At this point, I didn't know I was so close to the end, and I was actually beginning to wonder how long this would go on. I included very nearly all of the footage I shot of this shore excursion, except for some of the initial trail leading to the baths, and then that first wrong turn at the very beginning. I cut that out. Anyway, this is kind of long for me. I usually don't do videos this long, so really like some feedback. Is it too long? Are you glad that I included the entire navigation of the baths? Leave a comment, let me know. I'm really interested. Here's the last little turn, and this passage was probably the smallest. I almost had to crawl through this one. And you can see here is that beach I described. There's some picnic tables, the little bar that wasn't open, and just a beautiful little beach here. And as I came through the other side of these trees, that's when I saw my friends from Austria down the beach, and I ended up connecting with them, and we did the hike back together. And then you'll see at the very end that little exploration of the chamber that was filling with water. That was a lot of fun. Again, I made it out safely, so no worries as you watch that. And there are the Austrians. Here's that chamber. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.